I texted my family that my newborn son was dying in the NICU. My aunt responded with a photo of herself in a ball gown at a charity gala. That's not hyperbole. That's exactly what happened. It was 2 a.m. I was alone in a hospital pumping room that smelled like antiseptic and old coffee. The only sound was the mechanical hum of the breast pump. My name is Caroline, I'm 34, and one floor below me, my son Julian was fighting for his life. He'd been born at 27 weeks. 2 pounds, 1 ounce. So small I could hold him in one hand. His skin was translucent like tissue paper. Every breath was a battle. I was exhausted, terrified, and I needed my family. My hands shook as I opened our family group chat. We're one of those old money Boston families, the kind obsessed with image, with pedigree, with looking perfect for the world. Every text in that chat was usually about galas and polo matches and foundation events. But that night, I didn't care about any of that. I just needed them. I typed, Julian is having a hard night. Please just pray for him. Minutes later, my phone buzzed. It was my Aunt Vivienne, the family matriarch, the woman who'd basically run our family since my mother passed away. It wasn't a text. It was a photo. My Aunt Vivienne, smiling in a ball gown on a stage, perfectly posed under stage lights. The caption read, "So proud to represent our family at the Children's Hospital Foundation Gala. #GivingBack." I stared at that photo for a full minute. My son was on a ventilator 1 floor below me, and she was at a gala, smiling, using my crisis as a backdrop for her charity work. That picture wasn't just tone deaf. It was a message. It was everything my family had ever been to me, distilled into one perfect, horrible image. Let me back up. Let me tell you who these people really are. In my family, we weren't just a family. We were an institution. An old money Boston name with a foundation, a reputation, and an image to protect at all costs. Our lives were run from a mahogany-paneled office where the family foundation operated. And the unofficial CEO of our entire family was my Aunt Vivienne. Vivienne is my mother's older sister. After my mom died, she took charge of everything. And I mean everything. She wasn't warm. She was efficient. She managed the family's reputation like a corporate brand. Anything that didn't fit the narrative of perfect, charitable, and strong was a problem to be managed. Or erased. My husband Andrew is an architect. Successful, looks good in a suit, comes from a respectable family. He got the family seal of approval. But my career? That was a quiet embarrassment. I'm a grant writer. I work for nonprofits that deal with addiction, homelessness, domestic abuse. The messy stuff. The kind of problems Vivienne's foundation preferred to solve from a distance with a large check in a photo op. Not by actually getting your hands dirty. Caroline is the sensitive one, Vivienne would say at family dinners. Which was code for unstable. Disappointing. But my greatest failure in their eyes? I couldn't give them an heir. Andrew and I tried for years to have a baby. We suffered through 2 devastating miscarriages. Each time, the family's response was clinical. Cold. These were unfortunate events. Private matters to be hidden away. My grief was treated like a social inconvenience. When I finally got pregnant with Julian, Vivienne's response was a thin smile and, well, let's just hope you can stay calm this time, dear. For the baby's sake. Like my previous miscarriages were somehow my fault. Like I'd been too emotional, too unstable. So when Julian was born at 27 weeks via emergency C-section, when everything went wrong in the most dramatic, terrifying way possible, this was my ultimate failure. It was messy. It was chaotic. It was everything our family was not supposed to be. And that photo from Vivienne? It wasn't an oversight. It was a statement. I am at a gala projecting strength. You are in a hospital projecting weakness. Get yourself under control. I knew right then that I was completely on my own. Those first few weeks turned into 5 agonizing weeks of total isolation. My world shrank to the size of Julian's incubator. The NICU is like a foreign planet. It has its own language, its own gravity. You learn to speak in grams and milliliters. You learn to read heart monitors, to know which alarms mean he's just forgetting to breathe and which ones mean run. Julian was so small. Just over 2 pounds. His skin looked like paper. I would sit by his incubator for 12 hours a day, reading him books I was supposed to be reading in his nursery at home. And the silence from my family was deafening. I kept sending updates to the group chat. Julian gained 20 grams today. He's off the ventilator and on CPAP now. My father, Edward, would send back a single thumbs up emoji. My stepmother, Elizabeth? Nothing. Radio silence. Andrew was my rock, but he had to go back to work to keep our insurance. He'd come in the evenings, exhausted, and we'd sit by Julian's incubator holding hands. 2 ghosts haunting a machine. The only real support I had was from strangers. In the pumping room, I met other mothers living the same nightmare. We formed our own text group. We celebrated when one baby finally took a bottle. We cried when another had a setback. These women, these complete strangers, they became my real family. One afternoon, I was scrolling through social media during a rare break. And I saw it. A picture posted by a cousin. My father, my stepmother, Aunt Vivienne, all of them laughing, clinking champagne glasses at a Sunday polo match. The caption, "Wonderful Family Day." It felt like someone had punched me in the stomach. Their lives were just continuing. Polo matches. Dinners. Concerts. Like I'd never existed. Like my son fighting for his life in a plastic box was just an unpleasantness they'd successfully edited out of their perfect Boston lives. I stopped sending updates to the group chat after that. The question eating me alive wasn't, will my son survive? It was, why do they hate me so much? I had no idea the cruelty had only just begun. It was the end of week 5. Julian was stable, but stable in the NICU just means the crisis isn't happening right now. I was in the hospital cafeteria, stirring terrible coffee, my eyes burning with exhaustion. This place had become my second home. The same tired-looking residents, the same smell of reheated pasta. I'd settled into this numb, painful rhythm. Wake up, pump, drive to the hospital, sit by the incubator, pump, talk to doctors, pump, go home, sleep 3 hours, repeat. I pulled out my phone to text Andrew an update. And it exploded. 73 missed calls. Dozens of texts. All from my brother Matthew. My heart slammed against my ribs. 73 calls? That's not checking in. That's something has happened. I opened his last text, sent seconds before, Caroline. Answer. It's Aunt Margaret. She's at Mass General. It's bad. Aunt Margaret. My mother's other sister. The sidelined aunt. The one Vivienne always pushed aside. The world tilted sideways. I ran out of the cafeteria and called Matthew. He picked up on the first ring. Caroline, where have you been? I've been calling for hours. His voice was tight, frantic. Matthew's a journalist. He's never frantic. I'm here, I'm at the hospital. My phone was on silent. What's wrong? What happened to Aunt Margaret? Heavy pause. Hospital PA system in the background of his call. She had a massive stroke this morning. It's bad, Caroline. They don't know if she's going to make it. I leaned against the wall, cold tile pressing into my back. Oh my God. Is anyone with her? Everyone is here, Matthew said. That's why I'm calling. Everyone's at Mass General. Dad, Elizabeth, Vivienne, everyone. And look, Dad is asking why you aren't here. He's really hurt you haven't come. I couldn't process the words. A bitter, cold laugh escaped my throat. He's hurt? He's hurt that I'm not there? Caroline, what? Your aunt is. Matthew. I cut him off, my voice dangerously quiet. Where has he been? Where have any of them been? No one has been here for 5 weeks. I have a son in the NICU and not one person has come. Not Dad, not Elizabeth, not Vivienne. No one. Not a call, not a visit, nothing. The silence on the other end was absolute. I could hear him breathing. "What are you talking about?" he finally said, his voice completely changed. The panic was gone, replaced by cold, sharp confusion. "That can't be right." "It is, Matthew. I've been alone." "But, Caroline, Aunt Vivienne told us she's been coordinating meals for you. She said she's been visiting, sitting with Julian so you could rest. She said you were completely overwhelmed and told everyone you wanted 0 visitors. She said she was handling everything." The floor dropped out from under me. Matthew came to the NICU the next day. He's a journalist, trained to be skeptical, to dig. But when he stood over Julian's incubator, all of that melted away. I watched him scrub his arms raw for 3 full minutes, just like the nurses instructed. He looked terrified to even breathe near his nephew. "Oh, Caroline," he whispered, staring at this tiny 2-pound fighter. "He's perfect." I can't believe. He couldn't finish. He just reached one finger through the porthole and gently touched Julian's foot. After a few minutes, I led him to the gray, windowless family room. "I talked to Dad," he said, his voice flat and hard. The journalist was back. "I went to their house last night after leaving Mass General. I asked him point blank. I waited. It's so much worse than we thought, Caroline." This wasn't just Caroline needs privacy. She went scorched earth. "What did she do, Matthew?" He ran his hands through his hair. "She told Dad you were suffering from severe postpartum psychosis. She told him the hospital doctors were worried about you, that they'd advised a total visitor ban for your own mental stability. She told him you were unstable, a danger to yourself and maybe even to Julian." The air left my lungs. Physical blow. "She said what?" "She used your depression after the miscarriages as proof," Matthew continued, his voice thick with disgust. "She told Dad you were fragile, not in your right mind. She convinced him that by staying away, he was protecting you, following doctor's orders." I saw it all in that horrible, clarifying instant. The thumbs up emojis. The silence. It wasn't just neglect. It was a lie. A clinical, malicious, calculated lie. She'd painted me as a crazy, hysterical new mother to contain the family embarrassment. To keep the perfect family image intact. And in that moment, I finally understood why. It's a classic control tactic. Vivienne had built her entire identity around being the family's center of gravity. She created a hub-and-spoke system where all information had to flow through her. By controlling the communication, she controlled the family. She didn't just isolate me. She isolated everyone from me. It wasn't enough for me to be the sensitive one. She had to paint me as unstable because that reinforced her own position as the stable, capable matriarch. It wasn't jealousy. It was a cold, systematic move to maintain power. My suffering wasn't a tragedy to her. It was a liability. "She's been gaslighting our entire family for years," Matthew said, as if reading my mind. I just never saw it until now. I looked at my brother. The fog of grief and confusion I'd been in for 5 weeks finally cleared. It was replaced by something cold and hard and sharp. "Set up a call, Matthew." "What?" "Set up a video call with all of them. I want them to see me. I want them to see my son. And I want to see her face when I ask her." Matthew set up the call for that evening. He used his laptop in the small beige family room just outside the NICU doors. My hands were steady. The woman who'd cried herself to sleep for 5 weeks was gone. In her place was someone I didn't even recognize. Someone cold. Clinical. Matthew hit the call button. A second later, their faces flickered onto the screen. They were all there, crowded into Aunt Margaret's hospital room at Mass General. My father Edward, looking 10 years older. My stepmother Elizabeth, wringing her hands. And in the back, arms crossed, was Aunt Vivienne, her expression carefully neutral, like a CEO observing a hostile negotiation. "Caroline," my father began, his voice thick and trembling. "Caroline," Matthew told us. "We had no idea. First," I said, my voice so cold it startled even me. Look at him. I picked up the laptop and walked to the large viewing window of the NICU. I angled the camera at the tiny incubator in the corner. The blue Billy lights. The nest of wires. This is your grandson, Dad. This is Julian. He's 5 weeks old. He weighs 2 pounds, 1 ounce. And for 5 weeks, he has fought for his life, alone. And you? You believed a lie. You believed I was crazy because it was easier than picking up the phone and calling me yourself. My father's face crumpled. He put his head in his hands. Elizabeth was openly sobbing. But then Vivienne's voice cut through. Sharp. Impatient. Angry. Caroline, you are being hysterical. This is exactly the kind of drama we were trying to avoid. You were unstable. You are unstable. We were respecting the doctor's wishes. The doctor's wishes? I said, turning the camera back to my face. Or your wishes, Vivienne? You never spoke to a doctor. You never came here. You never made a single call. I was protecting this family, she shot back, her mask of composure finally cracking. Protecting your father from your emotional breakdowns. Someone had to manage the situation. Manage? I almost laughed. Is that what you were doing at the Children's Hospital Gala? Was that managing the situation? Tell me, Vivienne, how did that picture feel? When you were on that stage accepting applause for your generosity? I leaned close to the camera. The entire room went silent. How did it feel knowing my son was on a ventilator just a few miles away? You didn't just lie. You performed. You used my son's crisis as a prop for your reputation. You didn't protect this family. You protected your image. My father looked up, eyes wide, first at me, then turning slowly to look at Vivienne. The shock on his face wasn't just guilt anymore. It was comprehension. He finally saw her. Vivienne's face, for the first time in her life, was pale with rage and fear. She'd been exposed. She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She was silenced. And in that silence, I finally had all the peace I needed. I reached over and ended the call. The aftermath wasn't loud. It was deafening, heavy silence. The next morning, my father and stepmother were waiting outside the NICU doors. They looked broken. My father, who I'd only ever seen in crisp suits, looked like he hadn't slept in days. His eyes were red. Caroline, he started, voice thick. We came to meet our grandson. No excuses. No justifications. Just deep, profound shame. I nodded once and led them to the sink. They scrubbed their arms for 3 full minutes, just like Matthew had. I watched my father, this powerful Boston figure, stand over Julian's incubator. And for the first time, I saw the man, not the image. He was just a grandfather full of regret. He's beautiful, Caroline, Elizabeth whispered, tears streaming down her face. He's perfect. It wasn't a fix. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet. But it was a start. Our relationship will be built on truth from now on, I told them later. Not on image. Or it won't be built at all. My father just nodded, his eyes never leaving Julian. After 10 long, grueling weeks, Julian came home. He was still tiny, barely 5 pounds, but he was a fighter. About a week after we got him settled, our apartment intercom buzzed. It was Aunt Vivienne. She hadn't called. Hadn't texted. She just showed up. Caroline, darling, buzz me in, her voice crackled through the speaker. I have a little something for Julian's trust fund. From the foundation. I looked at Andrew, who was holding our sleeping son. I walked to the intercom. My hands steady. We don't need a donation, Vivienne. Immediate silence. Excuse me? Her voice was sharp. Insulted. I am your aunt. I am family. Let me in. I pressed the button one last time. My voice clear and final. No, Vivienne. You are a relation. My family is inside this house. You are not welcome here. I disconnected the call. She buzzed again. And again. And then she was gone. We held Julian's first birthday party in our small apartment. It was loud and messy and full of love. My brother Matthew was there, holding Julian up like a trophy. My Aunt Margaret, now recovered and smiling, was telling him stories. My 3 NICU mom friends, the women who'd become my sisters in that sterile, terrifying place, were there with their own miracle babies. And my father and Elizabeth were there. They weren't holding court like they used to. They were just there. Present. Quiet. My father was on the floor helping Julian unwrap a gift. I looked around at this group, this patchwork of people, and I realized what I'd learned. We're all taught that family is an unconditional obligation. That blood is everything. But it's not. Family is a title that has to be earned through love and respect and action. Walking away from a toxic blood relation isn't failure. It's not abandonment. It's a courageous act of self-preservation. It's the moment you finally decide that you and your new little family deserve peace more than you deserve pain. Thanks for listening, and if you liked this story, share it with others, and don't forget to comment and subscribe for more stories about choosing the family that chooses you back. Blood makes you related. Loyalty makes you family.